Hi, it's Katrina. Number 10. Beast tunnels. In South America, researchers have been stumbling across some bizarre burrows, huge passageways dug through the forest as if by great machines. At first, researchers were left pretty confused. The tunnels are enormous, very neatly constructed, and over 10,000 years old. It almost appeared as though the tunnels had been dug out by some kind of advanced civilization with impressive technology. If true, the tunnels could have flipped what we know about human society on its head. But the truth is even stranger. These tunnels were not dug by alien technology. They didn't even have anything to do with humans. Researchers began to notice that there were claw marks gouged into the walls and the ceilings of the tunnels. It became clear that they were made by some kind of massive animal, an extinct species of giant with claws so big and powerful they could tunnel through the earth. It turns out these tunnels were dug by an extinct species of giant ground sloth. They are called paleoburrows, and up until recently they were a huge mystery. Because the tunnels were first found in the 1930s, they were labeled as archaeological structures. It wasn't until geologist Amilcar Adami from the Brazilian Geological Survey started investigating the tunnels in 2010 that the truth came to light. Ground sloths, beasts bigger than the fabled Sasquatch, dug over 1,500 of these burrows underneath southeastern Brazil alone, some of them branching off like honeycombs under the ground for over 300 feet. Would you like to explore these tunnels? Let me know in the comments below. Number 9. World War II Treasure Tunnel. Tomoyuki Yamashita was a general for the Japanese army in World War II. He was the one in charge of the invasion of Southeast Asia, victorious at the Battle of Singapore, and occupier of the Philippines. He was ultimately tried for war crimes and found guilty. But before his death, he had allegedly stashed a treasure somewhere underground in the Philippines, in a cave or a tunnel. Treasure hunters have been looking for the spoils of war for years. One of these eager hunters is John Casey, who recently went to the Philippines in search of Yamashita's lost gold. He was looking for a mountain where it was said Japanese soldiers were witnessed carrying mysterious wooden crates up into the shadows and hiding them somewhere. When John went up the mountain, he discovered a camouflage tunnel. But the tunnel was too unstable for anyone to enter. It could have collapsed at any moment. John and his team had no choice but to send in a remotely controlled robot. Sadly, John didn't find any treasure. What he did find was evidence that the Japanese had been using prisoners of war to carve a system of tunnels into the side of a mountain. They found old tools from World War II, chisel marks on the walls, and a heap of debris blocking the robot from going any further. There could be billions of dollars in gold deeper inside the tunnels, but John simply didn't have the resources to dig out the entire mountain. Do you think he should try to keep going? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Number 8. The tunnel under the Pyramid of the Moon. Underneath the Pyramid of the Moon in the ancient capital of Teotihuacan, archaeologists stumbled upon a piece of the underworld. At least that's the way the Aztecs might have seen it. For those unfamiliar with Teotihuacan, located nearby modern Mexico City, here's a quick bit of background. The archaeological site was occupied by the Aztecs, but they weren't the ones who built it. It was an ancient and unknown society of people who built this place, but the Aztecs came along and made it their own. The Pyramid of the Moon is the second largest structure inside the ancient city. It was only recently that a tunnel was found underneath it, leading from the central square to directly under its bulk. But here's the thing, nobody has been able to go inside the tunnel just yet. The discovery was only made by electrical resistivity tomography. This is a method that creates subterranean images using high-tech scanning equipment. Researchers with Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History were scanning the entire site as part of a conservation effort when they accidentally found the tunnel. Here's another thing about the pyramid. It was almost certainly used for human sacrifice and other Aztec rituals. The tunnel is a little more mysterious than that, though, since nobody's been able to go inside it. We don't know if it's full of human bones or strange artifacts, but it may have been used by the Aztecs as a kind of passage into the underworld, where they took victims to be sacrificed to make them feel as though they were already entering the land of the dead. In any case, it's all pretty spooky. Number 7. Creepy creatures. In a tunnel underneath the sea, an eyeless crustacean has been found. It's a creepy sea creature that's not much bigger than a worm. It was found in the Tunnel de la Atlántida, the longest submarine lava tube in the Canary Islands, located off the western coast of North Africa. The tube is about 5,000 feet long and formed over 20,000 years ago when the Monte Corona volcano erupted. Molten rock flowed across the land, sizzled into the ocean, and formed an almost perfectly circular tube. Then the tube became home to its unique host of creatures. The international team of researchers not only identified this new and hideous crustacean, but also two previously unknown species of worms. The crustacean is less than 1 inch long and belongs to a specific class of crustaceans called Remipedia that only live in cave systems. The creature has been perfectly adapted to live life in a dark and empty cave. It has ridiculously long antennae sprouting from its head, no eyes because it doesn't need to see, and its body is covered in sensory hairs. What this means is that the critter can feel its way as it moves along the walls of the tunnel, nabbing food wherever it sees an opportunity. Number 6. The Bosnian Pyramid Valley and the Ravny Tunnels. The Bosnian Pyramid Complex is one of the most controversial archaeological sites in all of Europe. The biggest issue is that it's not technically an archaeological site. The Bosnian Pyramid is a really large natural hill in central Bosnia that looks strikingly like a pyramid. It has 4 almost perfectly congruent sides and looks just like a pyramid covered over with grass. Yet there has been no actual evidence that ancient people built it. All evidence points to it being a natural formation of earth and vegetation. But it's still a pretty fascinating place. There's even a mysterious tunnel network that was allegedly discovered in 2006 by a Bosnian businessman. It's come to be known as the Ravny Tunnels, and it's a massive labyrinth that goes about 3,000 feet into the earth. In 2011, a small sandstone rock was pulled out of the tunnel, found to have been carved in random shapes by someone using a primitive tool. A sharpened rock or something simple was used to create geometric figures on this rounded piece of sandstone. It's pretty fascinating, and people have a lot of different theories as to who made it. Some say it has something to do with the pyramids, while others say it was carved to look like the Star of David. However, sensible archaeologists believe it was left behind by Neolithic people living in the tunnels tens of thousands of years ago. Number 5. The Tonkararin Tunnels. In northern Kyushu, Japan, there is a mysterious set of tunnels carved into the hills. They are called the Tonkararin Tunnels, and they are so narrow that only a small child or tiny adult would be able to get through them. Whoever carved these tunnels with their bare hands didn't have a problem with claustrophobia. The tunnels run for roughly 1,460 feet down into the body of the mountain, with some only about a foot off the ground and others nearly 13 feet tall. What's truly incredible is that the network of tunnels is a complete mystery. They were originally discovered in the 1970s, clearly carved using primitive tools. Yet nobody knows who carved the hollow passages, what they were used for, or even when they were first made. There have been speculations. Some say the tunnels are connected to the ancient kingdom of Yamataikoku, the Japanese equivalent of King Arthur's court. Others, specifically archaeologists and scientists, believe the tunnels were carved sometime in the 5th century AD, or about 1,500 years ago. They may have been used in shamanistic rituals, but nobody knows for sure. It's extra bizarre because there are no myths or legends attached to the tunnels. Nothing that can even point curious historians in the right direction. What would you do if you discovered a mysterious tunnel? Would you report it or explore it for yourself? Let me know in the comments below. And now for number 4. But first, want to give a big shout out to Randy Rosas and Lisa Schreiber. Thanks so much for watching and supporting Origins Explained. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe for more videos about amazing discoveries. Number 4. The Tunnel of the Templars. There is a mysterious underground passageway underneath the city of Acre in Israel, originally hollowed out by the Knights Templar. The tunnel was made during the reign of the Kingdom of Jerusalem and was used as a strategic connection between the Templars' palace and the port. It was in case they needed to flee the city or return to their sanctuary in secret. The city of Acre fell in the 13th century, and the Templars' tunnel was lost to history. It was only a few decades ago, in 1994, that the tunnel was discovered by a woman dealing with a blocked sewage pipe underneath her house. For 700 years, the tunnel had been sealed underneath the streets of Jerusalem, integrated with the sewage system. Archaeologists followed the tunnel from one end to the other. The western end is at the place where the great Templar fortress once stood, although it's no longer in existence. The other side comes out at the southeastern part of the city, which was once a major anchorage of the city's port. But the ancient port structures have also been lost. There was probably a lot that went on here that we just don't know much about. Number 3. The Byzantine shipping fleet. The recent construction of an undersea rail tunnel to connect the Asian side of Istanbul with the European side of Istanbul was halted due to archaeological reasons. Workers came across clay pots and ancient artifacts inside the tunnel underneath the Bosporus Strait. The sheer number of artifacts is so baffling that the project to create this subsea rail system was delayed for nearly a decade. 35,000 artifacts were taken out of the tunnel, including pieces of burial structures, discarded animal bones, and ancient coins. Archaeologists also found the remains of 37 ships, making it the largest collection of shipwrecks in one place. Some of them are cargo vessels, some were once powerful military galleys that belonged to the Byzantine Navy. It's all quite incredible and was only made possible because of this tunnel leading from one part of Istanbul to the other. How did all this stuff get underwater? Archaeologists believe they accidentally came across the lost legendary port of Theodosius. It must have sunk into the strait thousands of years ago. Number 2. Rare Japanese swords. A pair of very rare and incredibly unique swords were discovered inside of an underground tunnel tomb in southern Japan. The swords date back about 1,500 years. One of them has proven to be the longest sword ever discovered inside a Japanese tomb. The other sword was found with its hilt still largely intact, covered in the decorative skin of a stingray. That makes it the oldest object found in East Asia decorated in stingray skin. When it comes to lost legendary weapons, it doesn't get much more amazing than this. The swords were discovered alongside a pair of skeletal remains, along with more weapons, piles of armor, and horse harnesses. All of this stuff was uncovered inside of a tunnel tomb from the 6th century AD. What's a tunnel tomb, you ask? It was a type of burial practiced in the Kofun period of Japan, from 250 to 538 AD. The Japanese would line an underground chamber with stone, then create a subterranean tunnel to reach the tomb through the bottom of a great earth mound. Although these tombs were fairly simple, the chambers have almost always boasted a huge trove of treasure. The people buried inside the tombs were the most important people of society, and they were buried with the most precious treasures that they'd adored in life. Take, for example, these 2 amazing swords. What treasure would you like to be buried with? Let me know in the comments. Number 1. Tunnels under Castle Ulsten. Archaeologists in Poland have discovered a cave and mysterious network of tunnels underneath one of the country's most infamous castles. I'm talking about Castle Ulsten, the ruined one built in the 14th century near Krakow. The castle once protected the entire southern border of the Kingdom of Poland, part of a system of fortifications known as the Trail of Eagles' Nests. Each fortification was in sight of the next, and they could raise the alarm if any invaders tried to pass across the border. That's why the fortresses here were built on huge cliffs and ridges. But alas, the wall of fortifications only worked for so long. The castle was invaded several different times before the 15th century, and in 1655 was taken by the Swedes. In 1722, it was mostly demolished, and its bricks were used to build a local church. However, there is still plenty of mystery left in this old place. While archaeologists were excavating the lower part of the castle to look for artifacts, they realized something was hiding beneath their feet. They discovered a massive void underneath the castle, along with fissures and tunnels leading away from the main cavern. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to actually dig into the cave. They've simply identified the subterranean network and are now waiting for a team of cavers to go exploring. One theory is that the tunnels could lead to the nearby Jasna Gora monastery and may have been used for evacuating precious religious treasures during sieges. Thanks for watching! Which of these bizarre tunnel discoveries from the ancient world surprised you the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. See you next time for more amazing archaeology. Bye!